The social contract theory places a responsibility on government to provide or extend social services to its citizens. One of the most important of these is the service of education, because it forms the social fabric, it forms the foundation on which a country is built, but also above all, the sector of public service entirely, is built from education. Well, the government of Uganda, in a bid to maybe extend this particular social service, decided to enhance or propose to enhance the salaries of science teachers, whereas maintain the salaries of arts teachers at the same scale. And this has, of course, caused what you'd call an impasse between government of Uganda and the teachers' community. Well, today, the Citizen Chat Show convenes to discuss or explore this conversation. So I'm joined by a panel of distinguished gentlemen. Actually, today we have no lady, that I shall introduce to you straight away. But just for your own information, Damian, who is your usual host, is having a small issue, so I'm only stepping in for him today. But hopefully next week he will be back here. So I'll begin by introducing the former Member of Parliament for Gulu Municipality, Honourable Lyandro Komakech. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. In absence of physical ladies here, I'll represent the women interest in this show today. Yes.
Okay. Can you please declare your interest?
My interest is obvious.
Yes, thank you very much, Honourable Lyandro.
Yes.
Next to Lyandro and next to me is Dr. Ojambo Robert. Dr. Robert is the head of history and political science at Kyambogo University, and also an arts teacher in that sense. Many thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Kidega, and I hope we discuss the things to make some contribution to what you have said.
Okay, thank you very much. And the third and last panelist who has joined us on the show is retired Maj Awich Pollar, who is the Director of External Services at the National Resistance Movement Secretariat. Major, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought you went before, beyond Major.
No.
Huh?
You know, I am one person who has been advocating for no change. So it can't be double standard.
So you remain
It can't be double standard that you want no change for the president and I want change for the rank. It must be across the board.
Just a footnote before we start. You know, the gentleman who comes from the north called is called Achoka.
Yes.
Achoka was a major for 25 years. So when he was promoted to a colonel and then later to a brigadier, people failed to call him. People would call him Brigadier Major Achoka. So Achoka became a surname.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that very interesting history. Well, let's just begin our topic straight away. And I'll begin with you, Doctor. At least you are an active participant or an active player in the education sector. And to the viewer out there who does not know what is happening, how can you, refresh their memory? What exactly is happening between UNATU and government of Uganda? And how do we find ourselves here anyway?
Yeah, the fight between UNATU and the government has been a long fight. In fact, UNATU has been a training ground for people who later become government, how do I call it? Government stewards. You remember a man called Tuheo. He was at the thick of things when he was the General Secretary of UNATU. So because of what they had done, in 2018, teachers reached an agreement with the government through the Ministry of Public Service. And a roadmap was drawn to put teachers to a certain pay level. And for those who are listening to us, teachers have now been graded. They are not just called teachers. We have senior education officers, we have education officers, assistant education officer. Those are the ranks of the teachers. And this runs from the top, whom we know in schools as headmaster, then down to the deputy headmaster. Then we have teachers for secondary school. Teachers, even secondary school, there are two categories. There are graduate teachers and diploma teachers. Then in primary school, also we have a head teacher and those ranks go down. So there were salaries that were agreed upon by UNATU, Uganda National Teachers Union, and the government of the Republic of Uganda. After a very big struggle, because teachers were really in bad shape. At that time, teachers were getting less than 130,000, and it was really bad. For example, somebody working for a whole month is teaching children to pass PLE, but is getting less than 130,000. So it was agreed, if I can remember offhand, that one of the highest paid teacher was going to get 9 million shillings. The one on top there, the head teacher, who is called the education officer, one. And it ran down pro rata, up to where the primary school teachers were going to get about 2 million shillings. That's what was agreed. It was signed, and the overseer was the union.
When was this agreement signed?
2018. 2018. So teachers waited. 2019, nothing happened. 2020, there was COVID. 2021, there was some problem. But in between there, the government thought and increased the salary of science teachers. Even as we talk now, science teachers don't get the same salary with the arts teacher. But the margin was very small, of about, because teachers were moved at different levels. So if I can give secondary school, the arts teachers now earn about 800 to 900,000, depending on their joining, because sometimes it also depends when you join. There are notches, there are different notches. So the science teacher, I think, earns something more, about 1.7 right now. Secondary. So that one was not a big problem to the teachers because the difference was very small. Now, as this problem was being sorted, come this year, the idea of sciences came. But this idea of science has also been there in government. And why I like my government, it runs two parallel systems. There's normally a system which is following the normal government systems, where you are negotiating with the public service, Minister of Education is involved, and so on. Then there is always the system of the president. So as the other ones were taking place and people waited knowing that they were going to get the money, the president announced that in his bid to promote sciences, he thinks science teachers should get more money than the arts teachers to get Vision 40.
Okay, can we just hold it right there? I want to bring in Major. Major, you've heard what Doctor is saying, that the government that you belong to, the National Resistance Movement, which is in charge of formulating policy, but also implementing these particular policies, thinks that it is important to enhance the salary of science teachers. So maybe in your own perspective, what is the motivation? What is inspiring the increment of salaries of science teachers? Do you agree with the sentiments that it is to enhance innovation, to try and prepare the population for the fourth industrial revolution? What exactly is informing this particular decision?
Well, you have said it already. The Vision 2040 is part of it. The NDP programs in there also forms part of what informs the decision. But I have heard colleagues say that this would amount to discrimination. I just want to say that discrimination is one thing, but affirmative action is also inbuilt. That's why many affirmative actions were taken. For example, when you talk in terms of girl-child vis-a-vis boy-child education, if somebody was to argue conventionally that promoting this would amount to discrimination, and that would be it. But I think it is within the means and legally provided for that where there is a lack, where there's a gap, government can do further and better actions that can promote a particular aim. Now, this is how it was envisaged, that giving more incentives to teachers, science teachers, would be actually doing like affirmative action in a way to promote science in view of the Vision 2040 and the National Development Goals planned by NDP. But also, I like to say that we seem to think that science teachers has been paid and that is a one-off. I think the spirit is that all teachers should be remunerated, whether arts or sciences. But the position here is we are starting with sciences. So, but people don't want to be patient enough to say, can we start with this and do? Of course, the resource envelope is not enough to start all at a go. It is true that the teachers all go to the same market. It is true that the teachers all go to the same supermarket. All their needs are the same. But because of the resource constraints and knowing the target and the needs of both, it's being started with the science. And of course, in due course, the arts will follow. But people seem to pick science in isolation and said, you know, you guys, you want on a teacher as sciences, you have disregarded arts. No. So two things. One, what forms is what you have mentioned, okay, that we need to develop. And in that aspect, science forms a big ingredient. Of course, the arts with the managerial also comes in. And that's why it's now said that, please, as a general rule, all teachers' needs should be met. Science and arts all together. But because of resource constraint, can we start with this? And that is what's happening.
Okay, fair enough. Honorable, let me bring you in.
Yeah.
Dr. earlier on mentioned that in 2018, there was an agreement that was signed between UNATU and I think Minister of Education, if I got you right.
Government of Uganda.
And Government of Uganda. And at the time, I believe you are still a member of Parliament. And one of the core roles of Parliament is to perform an oversight role on the executive. Were these agreements happening under the watch of Parliament? And if so, what do you make of them? Because an agreement was reached to, I think, enhance salaries, but that agreement has not been enforced. So does that imply that now there is a breach of contract between Party A and Party B?
First, thanks for bringing us here to share with the Ugandans and the diaspora, because I believe we have citizens of this country watching us in the diaspora.
That's true.
And all those who love Uganda. As a former legislator, I think that's because when you look at the Constitution and the rule of law and equality before the law, we are all equal. So, and all these parameters are set to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
You know, public service as an institution is there to regulate, just like in mathematics, which is science anyway. When you are simplifying fractions, you need to generate the lowest common denominator, which we call LCM, or sometimes you just call it common denominator. And therefore, the public service is the common denominator to balance up the interests of the public. Now, education is a public good. Yeah. As a public good, every Ugandan is entitled to, by law, every Ugandan is entitled. It is only that we have a bit changed our approach to education in this country, where the education is becoming
a commodity.
It is now a commodity.
Yeah.
Now that is where we are going wrong.
Yeah.
But when we get back to, let's assume it is a common good, then you see that the son of a peasant should go to Budo and get out, become anybody in this country. Just like a son of anybody in town here, residing in Bogolobe Flats and going to any other school. I think if we did not go like this, we would not be in town. We went through some of these schools, you know, in a very modest way. Major was in Tare, I was in Laivi College, but we came from rural schools in first grades.
Actually, a good example is Owinjolo.
Yeah.
Owinjolo, the Chief Justice, sat P7 in Patton, P7, and went to King's College, Budu. and he's a chief justice.
Yeah.
Now it is almost impossible.
Yeah, it is not. It is not possible. I broke the record in my village. It has never, no one has come with a Division 4 to go to any school in the country from the village. So for me, the challenge is, it is quite a big mess. Now, as you raised, now that education is not a public good, is where we begin our argument. That why is it that now we are moving towards discriminating? It is an absolute discrimination, not in economics where you say positive discrimination, what. This is a situation where now, when we're in parliament, we had a lot of tug of war with the ministry on the issues of teacher. A lot of time, matters of national importance, what. I remember we had a challenge in the Old North. As the chair of Greater North Parliamentary Forum, I had to always be on my toes. Sometimes the Minister of State for Education would pull me aside and say, why do you hate me? But we were speaking on the interests of the teachers. Yeah. So this is an old struggle, but it is now coming to its climax. And what we see is that government should do a pause and reflect on the journey where the teachers are coming from. Before independence, my father was a teacher. He's retired gently. He's very happy with his retirement. But you see, the teachers of the other time, if they met the teachers of today, they would wonder whether they are teaching in the schools they left. Simply because policies have now changed against teachers. The teachers are no longer opinion leaders in this country. The teachers are now bystanders on so many things that happen. And therefore, you can treat them the way you want. But in the past, the teachers actually were the first to come to parliament. The 1961 parliament was 90% teachers. The 1962 parliament, almost all were teachers, except the Batarengayas and a few others. So at the end of the day, the importance that was given to teachers was so high. They were one among those who were highly paid, the teachers and the doctors. You know, now all this started dropping as government interest on running education started also dropping. So at the end of the day, when the World Bank came to now say, let's go private, let's the forces of supply and demand determine how we deliver education services to the country.
Honorable, but also could that have been inspired by the fact that formal education over time has lost relevance in the public discourse, and that the world is now moving towards hand-based skills, and therefore the teachers who were formerly based in the 1960s, their place is being taken up by the hands-ons and the innovation and things like that.
No, you see, all those processes should grow based on studies, because if you looked at the way the British sequenced education service, they were taking policy decisions based on studies. There were commissions of the 19 what, even the Kajubis did. The 1989 Kajubi report, if you read that with the blueprint that later came to implement the UPEs and the rest. Now, all those were informed by studies. Now, we have taken a very long time without undertaking a full study on the status of education today and to understand the importance of teaching. Because unless you do that, then you do not move to begin even appropriating salaries. We needed these processes done so that when you go for remuneration as a recommendation, given the challenges of today, then you take decisions that are very empirical, that are based on understandings on what is on the ground, and then you said, okay, we do this. But to say, by ESA, that science is more important, like primary debate, water is better than fire, what mother is better than, mother is better than father, it does not come. Okay. We need to look at this also scientifically. Science, by the way, is not just the issue of that we avoid arts. Because even the art subjects that you talk about are behavioral sciences. Yes, it is a study of society and how people relate with that society. So it is behavioral science, And pure science is pure science. When you talk about physics and Albert Einstein with his theory of relativity, that is pure science.
Newton.
Yes. So for me, the argument that these are arts teachers, and then therefore these are science teachers, is even wrong.
Okay.
Look at geography. geography science, very heavy science, you know, which is mixed up with behavioral science. If you are doing political geography, it becomes behavioral science.
Even economics.
Even economics.
Yeah,
So for me, what I would just say for now is that when you go for remuneration, go for equality before the law for the teachers. Because right now we have divided the teachers into groups. They are now not a team. Each one is hiring the other, you know, for nothing. The only thing that needs to be done is say, okay, if you go for teacher training, I did teacher training. Before leaving for other programs. You see, teachers are trained based on what they should deliver. They deliver knowledge to students, to pupils. The delivery mechanisms that is why they are trained for, and that's why they are called teachers. Now, at the end of the day, the methodology that is designed to deliver knowledge for citizens of this country are well known through the curriculum. You will teach this, you will do it, this is the methods you will use, this is what, so that when you come to scheme of work, you generate it from the curriculum. Scheme of work is done. Then you go for your class, lesson plan. With the lesson plan. It is coherent. So for me, if I'm education supervisor, I walk into a class or I enter Kyambogo University, I know this is the delivery mechanism that is meant for this level.
Okay.
And therefore, you cannot now say, this one should be paid less, that one should be paid more. They are all carrying loads of equal weight and delivering it.
Okay.
Do you think that a maize farmer and a rice farmer should be paid differently if they're selling? They are all in the field delivering rice and maize.
Maybe it is more difficult to plow maize than it is to plow rice.
I don't think so.
Let me just bring in Doctor. Doctor, and people have said, and I've had sentiments that the arts teachers are only living in denial, that the biggest private players of today's world, the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, the likes of Jeff Bezos, all these multinational powerful companies are actually science-oriented. They are tilted more towards technology. And that if Uganda is to tap into the fourth industrial revolution, if we are to be part of the global economy, then we must somehow tilt towards innovation, tilt towards science. And that you as teachers need to accept that that change has come, and therefore you cannot be seen through the same lenses. So to the government worker out there, how can you persuade them that, you know what, arts is still as relevant and important as sciences, even with the, you know, controversial...
Thank you. I've understood you. And I don't need to waste anybody's energy to persuade them. These are common sense things. They're as common as you open your eyes, you see the sun, and you see the other one is the moon. But before I come to your question, let me just correct a small impression that has been created here by my senior colleague over there. Affirmative action, and I noted the word affirmative action. Affirmative action is different from killing one side. Affirmative action, you get the weak and you try to pull them to the level of the other. Does he want to suggest that science teachers were doing bad enough than arts teachers so that they need an affirmative action? And if they are given an affirmative action, how do you give one group 300% increment and the other one 0? Because that one beats logic. We want to do science, but we are doing things out of logic. So that is not possible. Number two, I want to build on the point that my colleague here talked about. A school runs as a system. So a school system is run by their pupils or students, their teachers. In school there, by the way, there is nothing like science teacher, but they are teachers. Then the administrators and support staff. For a school to perform very well like Hillside Primary School, I can give you evidence, and anybody who wants to study should go and look at this school. The school last year sat 527 pupils in primary 7. 527 got first grade. Only 2 got first grade. Only 2 got second grade. Somebody needs to go and study that school and see why it is shooting those grades. You reach there, every department is working very well, from the gate man to the head teacher up there. And each teacher is remunerated very well. What did they do to make sure that they enhance performance? They say every teacher every first grade you make is equal to this amount of money. And so mathematics teacher struggles to make more first grades. The other one is also struggling. That is what we call competition. Going now to your question. And he also said that, you see, the people out there have misunderstood government thing. My friend, once you are beaten, once beaten, twice shy. I can give you lecturers in public universities. I've also been at this. By the way, I speak for them. In 2019, after a very long struggle which had started in 2006, the president invited the leaders of the teachers and ordered that all teachers should get a salary enhancement. And even the rates were known. And in fact, he demonstrated using this symbol, pro rata. After a few months, they only selected vice chancellors, professors, and associate professors. Gave a vice chancellor 20 million shillings, gave a professor 15.6 million, associate professor 14.6. Then the others go and die. And we were told that, you see, this is the beginning. 2019, up to date, nothing. In fact, they're also threatening. Very soon they will join the thing. Look at administrators in government. They picked permanent secretaries from about 2 million and shot them to 15 million. And they said, we are beginning with the permanent secretaries. We shall pick others. As we talk today, a permanent secretary earns 15 million. In fact, now they are proposed to be taken to 20. 20 million. Then the next person is normally an undersecretary. He gets 4 million. Then the directors and the commissioners, they inhale down there. So there you don't create systems. You must create a system if you want to run a salary that encourages everybody to work. Sciences, you said science is the one which runs the world today. For you are just realizing this today. For me, as a student of history, I know this, that the Industrial Revolution began in 1750. And the Industrial Revolution is the one which reached us where we are today. But the Industrial Revolution did not come by mistake. There are certain things that were done to make sure that you boost innovation, you boost discovery, and science came up. People like Bell discovered this, then the other one was discovering the other, until we reached where we are here, we are today. You talked about Microsoft and those other things. I don't think if you went to a Microsoft company, it is the innovator who gets more money. Instead, it is the executive director of the company. It's not the innovator in the field there. Why? The executive director is the manager of all the system. He makes sure that he makes the innovator to work, the scientist should do his work, the marketeer should do his work, and so on and so forth. So today in Uganda today, if you looked for rich people, very rich men, and the people who are very successful, do you want to tell me that they are scientists? They are not. The richest man, this one is known. You can go and check Forbes' record, is Sudiri. I don't know what he studied.
Is that maybe because that...
I don't know what he
studied.
studied.
Could that be because our standard as a country is also not very high?
No. By the way, Sudiri threatens to be the richest man in East Africa. It's not just a country. He threatens to be the richest man in East Africa. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, combined. But Sudiri, I don't know what he studied. So it doesn't matter what somebody has studied. Innovation is normally a system-based thing. The government must come up with a serious push to innovation, like it was done in England. Later it went to countries like Belgium, France, Later it went to America, United States of America, and we are just getting drops of it. In Africa, there is no much innovation here.
Okay.
So to just finish, even in a school, I don't think you need to pay a science teacher properly to boost science. Instead, you're supposed to put systems. Systems. This science teacher, even if you pay him 100 million and is teaching chemistry in a classroom using a stove, no way. He needs to teach in the laboratory.
Okay, fair enough. Major, let me just bring you in. Many of us who are scholars of the law have read about Dicey. Dicey is what we would call the grandfather of rule of law. And one of the core aspects of rule of law is equality before the law. And I think this is also enshrined in one of the articles in our constitution. So, and the government has been accused of discriminating between public servants who are providing an equal service, but are receiving different pays. So one, do you think that your government is actually discriminating between these teachers, but also the question around the government approach? You know, you don't beget violence with violence. If the teachers have gone to strike, maybe government should have called them to negotiate. But what we are seeing are, threats. If you don't do this, we shall do this, we shall sack you. So two things, the government approach, but also the issue around discrimination of public servants.
Thank you so much. I already talked about how it is being alluded that there's discrimination. I'd already disclaimed it and said it is not true. But maybe something has been tickling me. The viewers out there, we could have a general understanding of arts and sciences. I remember one time I took an interest and asked Professor Mushanga, who was by then the Uganda ambassador in Zambia, but is an OB of Intara. Mushanga told me that the difference between arts and sciences is that sciences works on laws. Arts is creativity. There's a difference. Arts is creativity. Science works on laws. So now, about discrimination, there is no discrimination at all. I said that government acknowledges that teachers are equal and they're doing the same equal job. But I said that due to resource constraints, it's being the teachers' enhancement, the teachers' welfare is being started with sciences, science students, science teachers. So there's no discrimination. And it is not said anywhere, or if somebody interpreted any other submission or utterance for that case, that government is saying, no, science teachers are better than arts. No, it's just a resource. So there's no discrimination, take from me. And given time and resources, all teachers will be catered for. Now, on the method of response to industrial action, we all know that any worker has a right to industrial action in whatever groups that they form themselves. Is legitimate, it is lawful, they can ask for whatever rights that they want. Now, the methods or the reactions thereto maybe depends on individual basis. But I know for a fact that avenues and methods for listening are in there, they're inbuilt. The professor doctor has talked of many other previous negotiations, many other discussions that has happened. So avenues are there. Government is not trigger happy. Government is not out to brutalize. No. What seems to be a threat is maybe when a particular government officer seems to think that the negotiators or the agitators are being violent. But if you ever had therefore a particular actor saying what you think amounts to a violent act towards teachers, then that is not the norm, that is the exception. But we have precedent set clearly that negotiations have been held at university level, at secondary school level, and at primary level. And I want to assure that that is the modus operandi that should be encouraged, and that will be encouraged. So, while the teachers are rights holders, in a sense that they own the right to industrial action, they own the right to negotiate, they hold the right to, can't be taken away from them. The best that we can do as government is to wait and listen to them and discuss, and hopefully a solution will be met. But where there's no solution, of course, and I think that's where the problem is, where there's no solution and it is said out. Like if you said arts teachers also want money today, and you said there's no money, it appears like rude. That is why people now start thinking that you are being violent, you are being discriminated. And yet, that is the fact. They're just saying, look, we are starting with sciences, but we shall come over to this. And that makes it rude sounding or rude looking. But there's no problem. So on two issues, rights holders, on a discrimination basis, nothing. There's no discrimination. On methodology of response to industrial workers, it must be peaceful, it must be lawful, it must be governed by set precedents that is peaceful. That has been taken before.
Okay, Major, just a follow-up question regarding, because you've mentioned solutions. Hypothetically thinking, if this issue got before the Constitutional Court, do you think that our independent judiciary would declare this increment unconstitutional, given the articles in our Constitution that stipulate equity and equality before the law and things like that? Do you think that this would be declared unconstitutional?
I don't think. Of course, we are now talking without the input that you will be found in the averments. Of course, the petitioners will make averments, which I think in their averments will have very few paragraphs. Their paragraph will aver to the effect that you have paid science teachers more than us. And that amounts to discrimination. I am sure the response to the averments will be much more convincing to the wisdom of the judges. And
but can I give you some information? Just some information. Me, I'm not a lawyer. The way things happen in this country, you would even be risking to go to court. You will go to court basing on what? Because a teacher's salary is normally indicated on his or her appointment letter. That's where you get your salary. If there is an increment, either you have been promoted or they have changed a government pay structure, and therefore you have fallen in there. In this case, don't be shocked when tomorrow begins. Tomorrow is first. That's when the financial year is beginning. And the science teacher does not get the 4 million. And he will have nowhere to go. Because that was just a statement. I've been talking to my colleagues in parliament. Was this money really there, 4 million? They say the thing was there to improve sciences. That was general. But science teachers, there is no blueprint. So if you will go to court basing on what?
So my friend already knows that it doesn't have merit. It's a polite way of saying that actually him as a teacher wouldn't go to court because it would not be ruled in that way.
Okay.
I am even saying that even the science teacher, tomorrow, the month will end on 15th. That's when they make the payroll. And his salary is not 4 million. And he will have nowhere to go because the thing is not indicated anywhere. Authoritatively.
Can't the president's pronunciations be taken as law?
He has pronounced
Maybe
so many. He has pronounced so many. I've just given you an example of university lecturers. Because he pronounced and even wrote a letter. He wrote a letter directing the Minister of Public Service and said, pay this one, pay this one, this one.
Okay.
The next salary, they did not pay. We had nowhere to go.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Honorable, I want to just bring you in right away. Truth be told, UNATO has put up a very good fight on behalf of the teachers. And I think that they've put government to the wall. And this, I think, speaks to the role of labor unions. As someone who has been in this country long enough to see labor unions grow, but also, break down, do you think that it is high time that we began to see labor unions as something very important, and also encourage government to not look at labor unions as adversaries, but rather as allies that enhance social services? So basically speak to the role of labor unions from this particular experience that we have seen.
You see, moderator, for labor union to function very well, you need a very strong law that governs the operation. But the way it is designed today, by books, they look like they are there, but in reality, they are not strong. If you want to know how labor unions are strong, go to South Africa. Go to Norway. Actually, Norway would be the best case, because in Norway, the lowest paid citizen of Norway is the housemaid, by law, based on the labor union things and everything else, and it is part of policy, whether you're a conservative government, whether you're a center-left government. You must adhere that the human being is the most important citizen in the country. So you find that if you look at the labor unions of Norway, they are the ones who brought up a lot of changes in that country. And the rest of Europe, Poland, it was the labor union that brought down the government. South Africa, it was the labor union, COSATU, mixing with the ANC and Pan-African Congress that pushed the white man's throne. So here, the fear is that if you upscale the labor union to a certain level of power, they may even be more powerful than political parties. So at the end of the day, you run the risk of actually being rolled out of government. So therefore, you control the labor union, let them exist, but not with so much power. Now that is where we need to start the debate. That how do we strengthen collective bargaining within the framework of the labor union activities? At what level do people begin to get recruited? In the districts, we should be having all the structures.
Soaps towards.
Yes, designed properly, and everybody should be in, so that the processes of negotiations must all be exhausted before even they can go for strikes. Now, these ones are trying their best. But we need to go back to Parliament and we review the law to ensure that the law should strengthen the operations of labor unions in this country. So that we have, when you say an industrial action is taking place, it will be real. But now,
and constitutional.
Yes, and constitutional. But now when you say industrial action is taking place, 20% are reporting you. That so and so and so, all those should be, you should get a way of disorganizing them or bring them like out where you ended up, the other side when you didn't know what was happening. So at the end of the day, legitimately, we need to agree how to run. And we run not based on our emotions, because I've seen statements that were coming from senior government officials on the striking workers. They are not annoyed. They are protesting some demands. But they are being taken as if they are annoyed. You were sitting during COVID and not teaching anybody. Now you want to increase. So the thing became a blackmail to those who are agitating for pay rise. Now for me, I think our members of Parliament should take this as a course of action. That how do we study this law to make it stronger? Because even the other time when we were struggling with the issue of minimum wage, it was like some big problem, because minimum wage would depend on even government position on labor union. But as it is now, I think Obote did it in 85, and the least paid person, I think, was getting 55 shillings or 65 shillings. Then this one went to 110 shillings or 110,000 or something as minimum wage. In Norway, the lowest paid person is a housemaid at $4,000. Now, if you pay anybody below $4,000 in Norway, it is a criminal offense. But we need to start. For them, they have gone far because the collection of taxes is so heavy.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen and our viewers, let's take a short commercial break. We hope that you are enjoying this conversation. If you have any comments to put, please, the comment section is right there. If you agree with any of the panelists, let us know your alternative opinion. For now, just don't blink, because when you blink, you miss out. See you shortly after the break.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
The Citizens Chatroom happens every Friday at 2 p.m. on Civic Space TV Online on Facebook and YouTube. We invite you to be part of this conversation. Civic Space TV, freedom always.
Well, we'll be back from that short commercial break, and we hope that you are enjoying this conversation. Well, Honorable, before we went for that short commercial break, we were interrupted by a technical glitch, but I know you are still making a very important point, so I'll give you the chance to complete.
Yes, I was putting some emphasis on the labor unions and comparative practices across the globe. I was talking about Norway and their system, which is a place where we would need to visit, really, as those who are interested in empowering and strengthening our education system. Because as my colleague from Kyambogo University said, for all this to move well, I think we need to do a reflection. What Kiswahili says, tafakari. We need a reflection into the status of education in Uganda. Look at the teaching side of it, look at the parents, look at the students, where are we ever since. Then based on that, I think it would then be good to have recommendations that is all embracing. Then that would lead us into a formation, possibly of a commission or strengthening public service. I don't know what is happening, because we need a cross-cutting salary structure that speaks to everybody's labor input. That if you are a teacher at this level, this is how you will go through the system, and this is how the increments will be. And as my colleague said, pronouncements and salary structures that are basic, that are there, is really disorganizing how we manage the education system. So I think as it is now, it is true we are in chaos. We are in a patchwork of progress. We are in a patchwork of failure. And therefore we are actually at a crossroad, not even at a T-junction. We are at a crossroads where there are 4 roads in different directions. Which one do we take? Then for me here in this panel, I think we need to invite the president to reflect on this very seriously. That education in this country is the engine of the growth of the economy. And how do we make education move in a direction that is all empowering to all stakeholders? Because it looks like other stakeholders are being ignored. And that is why you find the arts teachers now coming on board. Oh, this war is on us. So at the end of the day, we are not going to deliver to the citizens of this country. Look at this gentleman. What was his name? The man who formed a company called Apple for these iPhones. And Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah.
You know, Steve Jobs was a calligrapher. You know, he was a calligrapher. But look at what he did. Everybody wants to have an iPhone and all these things.
Yeah.
So, for parents, for teachers, for government, so that everything moves automatically. But as it is now, everything is on manual. And the manual is on reverse. and you can see we are moving on a reverse gear that is so fast that is landing us into a backward slope that will cause disaster.
Yes.
Now, for me, for us to move forward, we should reduce on the tension of saying, you are the problem. You are the cause of the problem. These human brains we have, God created. He knew why he created the way he created. Therefore, you cannot start saying this one is less, this is more, this is more important. I don't think so.
Okay.
We only need a policy that streamlines everybody's potentiality for the economy to move forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Yeah.
Major, let me come to you. There are some undertones that are coming both from this panel but also from the general public that the NRM government has no interest in seeing labor unions empowered because of what, for example, UNATO has done, that managed to hold government accountable, that managed to hold government to the whole, and that the NRM government doesn't want to see labor unions, you know, thriving or being empowered. Do you think that this is a baseless accusation? And does the NRM government pride in having strong labor unions?
It does, and that is why it was enshrined in the Constitution and several other labor legislations that came up, and regulations there too. So you start from the Constitution to the legislations that have been made and to regulations there too. Further, even ILO, Uganda is a very, very active member of the International Labour Organizations with the headquarters in Geneva. I know all these where I have been participating. So it is not true. The government recognizes all sorts of trade before it even comes to the overall labor union. If you're involved in the trade, in a particular trade, like a trade of doctors, you're trading as teachers in the trade, I mean, even border people, if you call them trade. So all trades, therefore forming unions, are really part and parcel of government's views on the cell and the particular organizations of the society and the government, therefore. So how would you judge government? Would you judge by hearsay? Because those who are saying so are saying hearsay. For example, they should be saying, if it is true that that accusation is true, they should be saying, look, there's a particular law which government enacted to curtail labor. Okay? Or there is a particular, even if it was a ruling by court, that would still be court. But you must judge government by institutional frameworks. That is what it has done as an institution, not ESA. And as I said, what it has done as an institution is first to have it in the Constitution, 2, to have legislations there too, 3, to have labor regulations that is there, we all know it. Then 3, at international level, there are several ILO conventions, ILO convention on this, on that, those all about labor and trades.
And we have ratified most of them.
All of them, and we report on them because we report to show our compliance. Not only does the government report and not comply, but to show compliance by periodic reporting as a state party in Geneva. So whoever says that government is against maybe specific trade organization or labor union, that's not true. It can only be judged by actions it has deliberately taken to curtail, like if it enacted something to basically curtail, or if it is, well, some people tend to say even rulings in court could be part of them, although it is separate, but you'd say government maybe engineered such a kind of a ruling. So by and far, practice and in institutional frameworks you'd call theory, government is in for a promotion of trades, those were in specific trades, and labor union. So that they, and you see, we shouldn't have the idea that labor unions only exist to combat They can even exist when there's no problem. To go to the beach when they are happy. So we shouldn't have this mindset that labor union should be there to fight. No, they should just be there so that even in times of no war, they are there as an association, as trade practitioners, as happy people, but also to guard for their rights. Just in case there's a violation, they stand up. But now we have taken this negative attitude that they must be there to fight. Can't a particular trade be there to even organize, so that at the end of the year, they go to a beach and roast goats and be happy? So government is not against it.
Well, fair enough. Doctor, let me come to you. I am not sure of the work ethic of the teaching profession, but I know the doctors that as you are being sent out there as a doctor, you take an oath that my fundamental interest shall be to save the life, okay? Now, the interest of a teacher would have been to render education, to teach these pupils. Are you putting your interests as teachers at the forefront of the interest of these innocent pupils who are simply school-going, but now for over 2-3 weeks, they are not attaining their right to education? So do you think that you are being unfair to the ordinary pupil out there? Yeah, and that you should, you should continue to teach as you also continue to negotiate with government, but sacrificing them.
If you have been following events in this country, you would realize that teachers are the greatest parents that we have here. They are the only parents that we have remained with in Uganda. You had during COVID, government, I mean, the public or the people struggling with the government to open schools. Not even that they want their kids to go and study, but they have been defeated. The kids had become a big problem to them. So teachers and their students, that's why you will never find the students having problems with their teachers, even during this time of strike. In any case, they are with them. I just gave you a background when I was beginning. We have not reached here by accident. We have reached here because somewhere, somehow, somebody has slept on his job. These negotiations started long ago. And if somebody was following them up and implementing, and no teacher said, you put us up there. They had even proposed a phased increment. So by the time you reach here, it means teachers have been pushed to the wall. Number two, this country, the government is teaching people a bad culture. The government does not listen to people who are just speaking there in boardrooms and writing letters. They will not understand you. Because for me, I've been in this action for some time now, for about 20 years. When you just write a letter, you are negotiating, you are taken for granted. And you have seen that in each group that has benefited, there has been something that has been done that sometimes I would call absurd. Look at the judges. The judges and the judicial system was complaining for a very long time. They were complaining about this, complaining about that. Nobody was listening to them until they closed the courts. When they closed the courts, they were listened to. And they were given, in my view, I'm not against them. They were given outrageous things, outrageous. So I couldn't just imagine that I can serve the government, and when I retire with my salary, with everything, until when I'm going to die. So the teacher is watching.
Plus your bodyguards.
The teacher is watching.
Are you saying that Maj Awich's government only listens to strikes and
you know, like the judges, it was a stalemate. It was a stalemate. And what they got was really good. Look at even border men. Until they cause commotion in town here, nobody is going to listen to them. So even at home now, you are going to see children carrying a knife and putting their parents on knife point to give them certain things. And to me, this is a bad culture. Government should listen to people. For example, since 2018, 2019, even just a communication to these teachers that we are doing your thing like this, the only thing they hear is a pronouncement. And that pronouncement ignites a lot of anger, as my colleagues here were saying. People are natural to anger, to get angry. So I don't think that teachers have been inconsiderate. Teachers are very considerate people. If you know one group of civil servants who are very considerate, are teachers, the military, and these military people you see here. You are sleeping in the house, for him is out there keeping the security of the people. They're very considerate people.
That's true.
So, so me, I really think that we need to come up with the system, because this country belongs to us. And the problem with this country in my adult age is that people do not listen to technical advice. Technical advice. Instead, they listen to these people who are shouting and telling me I have this group of number of people. They listen to those ones. So, and that's why, for example, even UNATO. By the way, UNATO has not been united. UNATO had been divided into primary school teachers and secondary school teachers. Of course, like the higher institutions of learning, they are not even members. Now they have divided them. Now the science and professionals have formed their own union. So it looks like a battlefront. And each group is looking for an eye to be listened to. And the professional one, the science and professional teachers union wins. And it is taken there and it's given 4 million. Now these ones also say, okay, let's also do something. So for me, I really think it is something that is emerging in our country, which we should do curtail. And for me right now, if I had the opportunity to speak to His Excellency, the President, I would give him an analogy of a football match.
You can speak to him through...
Yeah, he scored, our president is a defender, defending Uganda number 5. Unfortunately, he scored in his own net. And the noble thing is when you score in your own net as a defender, the noble thing to do is to pick the ball from the net, apologize to the goalkeeper and other players, and set new standards to see how you can equalize the goal to become 1-1 and later people equalize. Because by saying that teachers who teach in the same school, under same circumstances, they are teaching same hour. By the way, a science teacher teaches a period of either 40 minutes or 80 minutes. So is the science. I was hearing out there people saying that, you see, science teachers have practicals. They do practicals. That practical is just a lesson. Like when the one who is teaching music also goes for a practical in music, although music, according to their categorization, is not a science. So me, I feel that what the president should now do, and I want to agree with him that this country is still poor. I was just looking at our budget and comparing it with the budgets of universities in the United States. There are some states, United States universities, which have a higher budget than the Republic of Uganda, because our budget is now 47 trillion. Changed to dollars, you get what you get. You look for university there and compare, and you find we are still poor, a poor country. But by giving teachers 4 million and leaving the arts one at 900 shows that government has some money. So that some money, I would advise the president, since this thing is not written anywhere, you just go back, call a cabinet meeting, and say the money we have, we are going to give teachers in this way. Science teachers, 2.5. Arts teachers, for now, 2 million. Arts teachers will be very happy. And you use the same envelope, and slowly you grow them. You grow them until you reach where you want to go. Just like I have always advised, there is no way you can pay an associate professor 14.6 million shillings and you pay a senior lecturer 7.2. And the difference is just one rank. It is terrible. Right now in universities, there is a lot of animosity between those professors. And professors, you know, our elders, in most cases, they are not even doing much. The people who work are these assistant lecturers, lecturers, and senior lecturers. The professors just guide. But now when there is that animosity, the system dies. That's what I call scoring in your own goal.
Okay. Honorable.
Yes.
Let's tap into your institutional memory of Parliament, just to cast some light onto the institution of Parliament. I think that if we had a Parliament that could, that had the backbone, I think that these are the core issues that Parliament should be able to stand up and say, I think this is a wrong approach by the executive, and therefore, as Parliament, we guide that this is how we should proceed. But this has gone on for so long. Yes, we have seen debates in Parliament, but we haven't seen Parliament as an institution coming out to say that, you know, this is wrong, and we think that these are our recommendations. The Committee on Education is recommending A, B, C, D. Does this indict the institution of Parliament and its lack of responsibility?
Yeah, I think given the gravity of this matter, I think when Parliament resumes, in the wisdom of the Speaker of Parliament, I think this is one of the issues that is really national, and we should prioritize beyond anybody else coming in to say, I want to raise a matter of national importance. I think the communication of the Speaker on that day from the chair should give us the direction in which we move to solve this problem. Because if Parliament put its feet down, they are appropriate by law. They are appropriate. And before they are appropriate, I think there should be a revisit of this process. As Doctor said, that giving the 4 million may be actually jeopardizing the process. And this should go beyond even the Committee of Education. This should be a select committee that should be created in Parliament that brings on board all interest groups beyond education. Because it has gone to a national security threat. For me, I look at it from my security studies. This is a national security threat. Where at the core of education is at a balance. You know, the future of these kids are at a balance. It's a security threat. So can we have a select committee from Parliament to work with Ministry of Education, to work with Ministry of Public Service, and do a thorough empirical reflection? It may be a rapid assessment, because at this time, given that it is a quick action, it is a rapid assessment in terms of what can come out in the meantime. So that then we leave the president to put before cabinet that we need to solve these problems once and for all. What do? We should have a team that is going to be announced that should reflect on salaries of everybody, and a proposal should be made in a blueprint, taken to cabinet and debated in Parliament. And then we agree that if you join, you start at this level, and you will be motivated based on the years of service, based on meritocracy, on what you do, and then you will begin to see some semblance of hard work, because there's not going to be any serious work now. If the 4 million comes out, then the rest will say, okay, you will be around, completely around, very active, but not delivering. Now we are punishing these kids. So Parliament, when it resumes, for me, my proposal would be the Speaker actually to put a debate. There should be in the order paper the issue of salary discrepancies in the country. A full debate for 1 day or 2 days, and then a select committee out of that debate should be extracted and then commissioned to go and work out on this. And those should be people with the technical expertise, not just anybody should be part of that select committee. Should be people with some reflection of technical abilities in Parliament to work out, to help us and sort out this. Because we have lost a lot. COVID made us lose a lot. Now this, that should be sorted out, is again becoming a bigger problem than even COVID. This should not arise. And I think the thinking of so much resistance, everything. I appreciate President Museveni went to the bush on an issue which was challenging. The issue of election riggings and all these things. They resisted. They came. But I think let us not create resistance for others to learn and think that resistance can be created in everything we do. It is the wrong DNA. Resistance should be for right things to be done rightly. But now, if we are leaving this gap, that if you want to do something to succeed, you must also come out with your muscles.
Yeah.
No, we need logic. We need common sense, as we said earlier. So that when you put on table dialogue, things should roll. Not until when the police comes to disperse teachers. Like I saw the musicians who are being carried in a truck from National Theatre the other day. You know, it is very embarrassing. These are very important people in the economy, the artists.
Yeah.
But their mind is now on violence. They are even kicking police. You know, so the debate should go back to the president. Let him do a thorough reflection on this. This is not being done in bad faith, but I think we need to review on the approaches that can still yield the same result. That if it is 4 million, we divide it by 2. And then let the art teacher also walk to the market. Because if one is belching meat, the other one is belching beans, it will not come. It will create violence. And then you will set a very explosive population that you may not like to stop them. So that is my advice. I honestly believe that the teaching profession is one of the best profession that people admire. But it is now being seen as a last resort. And yet, in terms of training in the early times, the first group that would be taken from the best lot would be teachers first. Those who are going for grade 3, grade 2, you know, grade 5, university, the best.
Yeah.
But now it has changed upside down. Teachers, they even make the word
Let him try.
Let him try. Surely it is unfair. I stand in for the interest of teachers. I have been a teacher trainer before and a teacher. I love teaching, much as I am now in the university. But let the teachers have what they demand. Let us be fair to them. This is our cry to the country. The president, you change your heart. If you are listening, reverse that position and you have a proactive dialogue that can yield positive results for parents, for students, and for teachers.
Fair enough. Major, I think this is the point where I bring you back. And you've had the plight, you've had the undertones that, you know, government needs to extend the olive branch. And that is, I think, the deep pocket theory, that he who has the leverage, he who has the power, should be able to extend the olive branch first. So the question to you is that should UNATU continue with their demands? Should they continue with their industrial action? Does government plan to extend an olive branch? Do you plan to eventually say, okay, your demands are legitimate, they are valid, and we are going to take them up, we are going to agree on your demands, or you think that this will just continue the way it is and you won't concede to the pressure?
Now, you're asking me a very operational matter. Operational in a sense that it needs an actor now, like, say, the Minister of Education or something. But I can talk from a broad policy capacity. So, broadly, at a broad policy level, which, of course, I initiate from the fact that as a party person, as NRM, we have a social contract with the people on an agreed manifesto, and education is part of it. So that is my first level. The second level is that when we win that election and form a government, we give government now programs. Government now initiate like annual budget and all that. The policy statement for the ministries. Now, that is it. But now the question is, the operational matter I'm saying is how to act. So broadly speaking, if I may talk at my level, is that surely government wants to talk peace. Surely government wants everybody, a rights holder, to hold his rights, including right to negotiation by trades, by labor union, all that. So the operational matter, I don't know now what the people in the theater, like Ministry of Education, will prefer. But at a policy level, and at all that I've cited, is that it's perfectly right for government or for us to go to them. As you said, the strong one goes. Okay? government, by the fact that its government is strong, it should go and it can go. But that is why I created an exception, or no, that is not the right diction. I created feeling that the operational matter is by those in the theater. So that is the position. But overall, it is true. There's no shame. It's not a weakness for government to say, hey, let's talk. I don't think it would amount to a weakness on our side as a government if we say we're extending our hand to you, let's talk. But as I said, depending on those in the theater now, being operational matter. But for me, from the manifesto and from the policy statement, as government, it does not manifest weakness at all. To say, okay, now look, as government, they have called people to talk, maybe it is a weakness. No, all we want is the best interest of the country.
Yeah.
So that is my position. The other thing I wanted to say is that following our conversation, we seem to have agreed that increasing salary for teachers is okay. And even additional increase for scientists is okay.
True.
But arts should also be. Now, this now calls on government that if we had agreed in principle that we are starting with this one first, how long else were we going to wait to bring the other one? If the demands is that don't take 2 years to bring us, bring now, then it is worth discussing. Because unless we were telling a lie that you see it is the resource envelope. But if we were being honest, which I know we are being honest, is that they're saying, no, look, you had said you are starting with sciences and later arts. But we are saying, rather than taking 2 years to bring the arts on, can you start now? So I can see like we're developing a consensus on that. So that works in all ways. Therefore, it is good for government to reach out, but it's also good to notice that what we had intended to take longer could actually take a shorter time than it should.
Yeah.
After all, that is what we had said, and that's what we're saying.
Okay, thank you, Major. Doctor, let me just come back to you. Should the cooks in the government kitchen maintain their position and say that we think that this is the best way to go for the country, and we still insist that science teachers' salary should be enhanced, prior to the arts teachers? Do you think that UNATU is going to consider and say, okay, we have pupils, we are parents, let us go back to school, let us teach these pupils and give government a chance to sort out whatever they're doing in the kitchen, and maybe when they're ready, then they will cater for all of us? Or you intend to just continue with this industrial action and,
Yeah, maybe let me first give information. The talking began yesterday. Yesterday, the Vice President convened a meeting with the UNATU and with the concerned ministries. And I hope that that was initiated by the President. I just hope. I want to say that threatening workers has failed in this country. They have been threatening workers terribly on many occasions. You remember when they threatened the doctors, they threatened the university lecturers in Makerere first, then later Mama Mbaz even brought a book that whoever does not write in that book by this date, you will deem your services rendered null and void. Nobody wrote in the book, and he carried these books and went away. So it doesn't work. And any sensible person would know that it can't work. You cannot force a teacher to teach. So the best thing is for people to go for a win-win situation. In trade union, normally, for those who don't know how trade unions work, they come up with very outrageous demands, but they are always remaining human beings. They remain human beings, and they will be moving steps. It's like the good thing I'm on a panelist of people who come from one place. One time we went for a marriage in Acholi land, and it was a disaster to me. I'd never seen something like that. They start with 1,000 cows, and I was saying, where are these going to come from? At the end of the day, people paid 3. They paid 3 cows, and the marriage took place. So, and I was told that why they ask for 1,000 and put those very many hard conditions, they want to see your negotiation skills and your ability to take hard decisions. So I think government is there to make hard decisions, in my view. And I want to think that, as I said earlier, this thing cannot go on the way it is. No teacher is going to accept to go and teach in these conditions. That come 30th July, a science teacher goes to the ATM and there is 4 million shillings, and the arts one 300,000. That one, you just need common sense. It would be outrageous.
So it won't happen.
It won't happen. That one, we are wasting our time. So the best thing to do is for government to look at what they can do. Then where they cannot make equal things, they make a promissory note. You promise that, yes, we can now afford this up to this level. As he said, when we reach next year, but the trouble has been, do you trust government? That is the biggest problem. But you can try it. You can try it, and we have always tried it. The biggest problem in this country is the people who work with our president have let him down. In my view, I've been watching. They are like, if you are a rural person, they are like a hen and its chicks. When they are being attacked by an eagle, the hen makes noise and the chicks all go, and all of them are seeing what the hen is doing. If the hen starts moving, they also move. So our ministers, our permanent secretaries, I heard him talk about ministers. In this country, ministers are like Father Christmas. They don't make any meaningful decision. In my view, I even don't know why they exist. They would even be removed and nothing will change. They are there appointed to assist the president, but they behave like chicks watching the president. When the president says something, and you may think they have been coached, they all come and say, now you know, with our difficult economy, and you say, are these people coached? None of them thinks independently. So ministers need to up their game. For example, this sector has 3 powerful ministers. There is the Minister of Sports and Education and Sports. There is a Minister for Higher Education and another minister. There are 3 there. One of them even has a PhD. But I don't see them. Have you seen them on TV saying anything? Any of them? Nothing. It is either a permanent secretary or somebody from the president's office, or really, what is their role? That I want to call upon them, that they can give guidance. One time we discussed with the minister and we solved a problem. So ministers need to take up their role. Now, our permanent secretaries have ceased to be technical people. They operate like politicians. They also first listen where the politics is going. Then they make a pronouncement. I was embarrassed by my permanent secretary for public service. She first made an outrageous statement saying that by 30th, any teacher who will have not gone to class will have ceased to be an employee. Now, the other day again, I saw her saying that she's going to meet the teachers, I think tomorrow.
Yes.
Now, what type of what are they going to negotiate? A person who was threatening them the other day is now saying he's going to meet them. So I really need a technical person who can tell the minister, excuse me, according to this principle, this cannot work. Then the teachers. I think the teachers need to remain united, in my view. Science or arts will still remain Ugandans working in the same system. By the way, if you don't know, in the primary school now we teach an integrated curriculum. For those who don't know, there is no much even difference between science, because everything that you teach must be integrated. For example, when you are teaching about family, you must, that concept of family should run through science, English, SST, and all those things. If you are teaching about division in mathematics, it should take into the concept of the family, which is taught in SST. So there is integrated learning. Even at secondary school, there is nobody who is going to get a first grade. There is nobody in this country who is going to get a first grade if he passes mathematics, distinction 1, English 9. Maybe people have forgotten. You can't get a first grade without passing English.
Yeah.
And so, even other subjects, there is no way you are going to understand economics without some mathematics. For those who did it at the university, you know, you must know mathematics. There is no way you are going to teach history without knowing some economics. And so those things. So there is this system. We don't need teachers to divide themselves because of the salaries that they are getting. That these ones are getting more, these ones are getting less, because they are like football players.
Okay.
If you have a defender, as I said earlier, who has come to the pitch when he's hungry, however much you score goals there, they are going to equalize them. So in my view, I just think that we need to rejuvenate everybody, and I want to agree with him that this is the highest time that people should sober up, calm down, put the pride aside, and work together. But above all, technical people and ministers should help the president. Me, sometimes I see him overwhelmed. That's why sometimes he comes up with some of these decisions.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Honorable.
Yes.
With the emergence of capitalism, many economies globally took the liberal approach, open up the economy, open up all sectors, let the private players come in and meander into education, meander into all sorts of social services, education, healthcare, etc. So, and with the high levels of privatization, do you think that there is something we are overlooking, which could be a structural question? That because the private schools, I will not mention names, but the private schools are paying very highly, they are paying the teachers very highly, and therefore it is arousing the appetite from the government side. So do you think that this is an effect of a structural system that we have taken as a country of privatization, and therefore now there is a competition of interests arising from the emergence of the private sector, and that is now why you see government employees feel aroused and they feel the need to actually earn as much as the private players are earning. So, privatization.
Well, I think this is time that the government of Uganda should take stock of ever since they accepted the structural adjustment program of 1989 that went into the 90s, that brought a lot of challenges. We went into all these processes without having taken a lot of technical reflections from other case studies. And that is when we were advised that actually release every public corporation, let it go to the private sector. And government is not supposed to do business, get out of business. And I think for me today, I must admit, that was the biggest mistake the government of Uganda took, to hand over many things without having strategic repositioning and alignments on how this should be done. Look, we left the energy sector, we left it. Energy security. We have no control over energy. It is in the market. We left education and gone so much to private. That is why it is now economic good. It is no longer public good. And you can even imagine the proprietors of schools, if you went and interviewed them on the enterprise, they may not even explain to you what you're saying, because for them it is money. No money, you're not entering the gate of the school. So, and many others. We even in agriculture, we left many things. Coffee marketing board went, cotton went, everything went. Even government pool houses went to private people. You cannot now have quotas, So at the end of the day, I think government should think hard and say, we need energy back to government. We need a fully funded government bank, 100% back, like UCB was. We need it back. We need a cooperative bank. Actually, we need, most of all, we need an agricultural bank in this country, more than anything, fully capitalized by government. And working in line together with Uganda Development Bank and East African Development Bank.
To capitalize.
Then, yes, this is when we shall start giving money back to the citizens of Uganda through productivity that is generated from a process that empowers the citizens to work hard. Less of that, this capital wall is going to make us dance around until we just give up in life. Because at present, look at fuel, 6,000, 7,000, 10,000. Is it sustainable?
No.
It's not sustainable. Where are our fuel reserves? If things are to go worse, we don't have fuel reserves in this country. So what happens if problems come? We shall walk to work. It will not be political. It will be economic. You know? So we need to reflect on this. And my comrade, Major, Council, let us deeply think on the next steps. For me, I do not believe in outright privatization. We need to reclaim some of the private, the public institutions. Like in telecom is security. Ethiopia has only given a small percentage of its telecom industry to be privatized, but they have maintained 80%. UTL should have been at the core of our communication. We will not be with all these very expensive companies, you know, selling for us these things. We would actually be operating at the lowest because we need production costs should be low so that we deliver on quality. The president talks about value addition, but value addition with a completely privatized economy, it is very difficult if government has no intervention. We need government intervention at least at 40% to 45% in some of the things we lost to the private sector. So the outright privatization that we did was one of the greatest policy failure we have ever done. And therefore, we must reverse it and get back to where some of these institutions were at independence, so that we see how we leverage the interests of the parents, the interests of the teachers. Let the teachers have equal pay at present. Let's share. Let's have a shared remuneration and a shared journey with a shared future. If we do not do that, please, we are just giving free advice. Do not complain that the Komakechis and the rest did not say it. We are saying this in the interest of this country.
All right. Thank you very much. Fair enough. Our time is fast spent, so we shall spend the next couple of minutes trying to look at way forwards. How do we move forward as a country from this point? We have unpacked the causes and, you know, explored all corners at least. But now let's focus on how can government proceed? How can UNATO proceed? How can we restore normalcy? How can this standoff be put to an end? So I'll just begin with Doctor, then Honorable, then I'll give Major the last words on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I just want to repeat myself, not to bore people, but for emphasis. There are so many things that this country needs to do. We cannot do all of them in this decade, not even in this next 50 years. But we need to set a foundation on which we do things. And one of the foundations would have been education. So everybody who is concerned should really think hard about this education and make sure that we get back to teaching our children and the education activities taking place in all schools and institutions. That can only take place if we sit down and discuss, agree, and build the trust in ourselves to make sure that. But I want to thank that man called Gilbert Baguma. One of the best things he has done is to unite all teachers. Although the scientists have run away from him, but I think they need to go back. He means well with all the intimidation that he has gotten, but the man has remained very strong. I want to thank the Minister of Public Service. Somehow he has been interested in this matter. He has given some contradictory statements, but I forgive him. I really feel that he has done something. How I feel if the other ministers were also doing something, especially our aligned ministry, really, I am surprised. There is nothing, no statement. The only thing I had yesterday was a sermon somewhere, but I don't want to talk about it here now. So we need to work together. Then the teachers, I want to request them that they should be together. They should see to it that this problem is resolved. They should not harden things. They shouldn't harden things. Kidega, I just want you to give me 1 minute because it would be unfair for me to come here and I don't speak for the people I speak for. The FASIP, Forum for Public Universities in Uganda. We have also our big plight, and we have been so patient. We have gone to every office that we would reach, including the President of this Republic. We have not been listened to. We are also giving a warning that come, for us, we are not speculators, so we are waiting for our pay slips to come out. Come July, our pay slips come out, and we don't have pro rata payment. We are afraid we may also join our teachers, and it won't be good. We don't want to go there. It is since 2019, we have gone to every office. We have written to public service. Last month, we had a meeting with the Minister of Public Service, the Minister of Education. We thought that something was going to happen. They are just telling us the same story. We really want to request that people who are concerned do something here. I know miracles are not possible, but they must do something. I want to request government, and here now I'm giving my technical advice, that we are creating a country of 2 citizens. As we talk now, children of most powerful people in Kampala, in Mbarara, in Gulu are studying. Some of them are even in international schools. I was checking here. There is an international school where parents pay 100 million per year for their children to study there. And I was checking, the number is very big. So those ones are studying. The ones who are not studying in Bungoho, in Palabek, in Kanyantorogo, in Bulambuli, and many of these places are going to become the problems of this country. So as we think that, okay, for us, let's not support these teachers, they are serious, their children are going to become the tormentors of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Well, mine is just brief. I would like to stand with the teachers very firmly. Stand with the teachers in what they're demanding. It is what they deserve. And as they demand for their interests, it should be out of logic and a common position that what they demand is what they deserve. And government should be fair to readjust the remuneration in the meantime to fit every sector in the teaching schools, whether arts or science. Let them work together with the little resource envelope that is available. Let them share. And then more will be added onto what they shall have been given. And then to government as well, I think it is important to begin looking at the key outcome of school performance, that schools in cities should not be performing better than schools in rural areas. It is high time government reflected. As it used to be, schools in rural areas should have equal performance with schools in urban areas. And that is when we shall have indicators that education is moving at a uniform level. We do not need a rural-urban migration because we have to take our kids to urban so that the future is bright for them. We shall be developing yet another 2 groups of citizens, which is not good for this country. Let equality before the law be equality before the law, not just the way it is said. It should be substantive equality before the law. That is my advice to government and the entire citizens of this country. Let us stand behind teachers proactively and positively to achieve equal results.
Thank you, Honorable. Yes, Major.
I'd just like to say that this discussion, we noticed a consensus that, right, if the government plan is to encourage science and in education, it's fine. But it is also saying that if government, as we had said, that we are starting with science and then later arts, then it is high time that you don't make that time so far. Go to make your science a little ahead, but arts, which is okay. It is a negotiation process. Because, as I said earlier, if we had said we would do it tomorrow, but they're saying but that tomorrow the arts could have died anyway. So we are not talking various different things. So over and above is that government is committed to teachers' plight. I remember when I was young, I studied at primary school in Agago. Can you imagine in those days, like Honourable was saying, is that the teachers were the people who would put on neckties. The teachers were the ones who would take bread and butter. And guess what? Nobody would complain. In fact, I'm a lawyer. In fact, people would rather complain if you pay judges more, because not everybody is a beneficiary, although it is maintaining law and order, whatever, justice. But a teacher, everybody would either have been a child in school or will have a child in school. It is a clear employment of a public good. So if they pay teachers well, who are you to complain?
No one.
Who will complain? Unless somebody would rather complain that judges are paid, but not teachers.
Yeah.
And those were the teachers of the day, and education was well. And that's why I was saying Windolo from Patton was the best in English in the whole country. I'm sure if you ask many Ugandans now, where is Patton, nobody knows. But Windolo was the best in primary in English and came to King College, Gulu. So he's not a Chief Justice by accident. Just because the circumstance warranted merit anywhere you were. And a government would love that that situation comes up. So teachers shouldn't worry. Only that the thinking was, since science will create motivation, move fast with science teachers. But since this is an outcry now, I think it will form part of the discussion. So there's no worry. Thank you.
Okay, to the panelists, from Major to Honorable to Doctor, I cannot thank you enough for sparing the time to be on the Citizen Chat Room. To the technical team, thank you very much for ensuring that our viewers get this show right on time. Well, from us to you, we can only wish you a lovely Friday afternoon. As the weekend is here, please stay safe and, well, you've had the conversation. I cannot add more, I cannot deduct more. You've heard it all, but we hope, and our heart goes out to the pupils who are at home and are not studying. We hope that this impasse and standoff can come to an end soon, so that we can restore normalcy and education can continue to thrive. Well, see you next week, same time. Bye-bye.